How to calculate overhead costs in construction projects. In this video, what I'm going to do is do some construction speak for how to understand the impact of overhead on the construction project and break it down in a way that I wish somebody would have broken it down for me when I was first in construction. So I'm pretty excited about this. Let me just start out by saying, well, first of all, if you're excited about that, you're at the right video because you're going to understand this in a way that will shape a mindset that I think will help out quite a bit. And I'm excited to share that with you. First and foremost, if you are an estimator, if you are a controller, if you're a project manager, project executive with lots of experience, if you are knee deep in one of these applications with your own specific terms, please don't be annoyed at me. I'm just going to distill this down into field speak. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Let me just actually tell you a story. I used to work for a general contractor where they were like 624. And what that meant was that gross profit needed to be 6% of the overall project because typically 2% goes to your general and administrative costs. It goes to your overhead. Then you have 4% left over, which is what the company needs to have to be profitable. So 624. Okay, so that was really nice to know. Let me talk about the different budgets and buckets. And I just want you to know the definition of a contract is literally whatever two parties agree to. So there are all different ways that you can deliver a construction project. There's a lot of different construction contract delivery methods. And so this won't fit cookie cutter into everything, but typically this is what I see. I use the terms general conditions, general requirements, gross profit, and then net profit. And then overhead is a factor in that. Let me explain what I mean. Your general conditions, and some people loop GCs and GRs together, I separate them. General conditions is your staff. Sometimes people loop in insurance as well, but for me, the general conditions is mainly your staff. I do want to say that, just really quickly as kind of a side note, let's say hypothetically the owner of the company pays me $95,000 a year, and then it's really $130,000 total once my benefits come into play. And you basically my burdened wage or my pay scale or whatever you want to call it. Oh, they call it total compensation package. That means your base salary plus all of your benefits, right? And stock and bonuses. Let's say that totals up to like $135,000, but they bill a client $150,000. So there is a rate that I'm billed at, and the difference between $135,000 and $150,000 per year, it's usually calculated by hour, it's not calculated by year. Let's just say by year, $135,000 to $150,000. That $15,000 goes to the company as a gain. We call those labor gains. We have labor gains with craft as well, with labor hours with craft. We have gains on insurance. Sometimes we have gains on bonds. Sometimes we have equipment rental gains if the GC is renting their own equipment to itself, right? So that all plays a part in your overall gross profit. Okay, so I do want to make that point. So your general conditions is mainly your staff, sometimes insurance looped in. General requirements are your trailer, it's your fence, it's your restrooms. These are things that are not directly applied to the project. They don't add direct value to the project. They're not a direct cost. They're indirects, but you need them in order to build the project. Right? And so that's super important. Now, those should be in typical contracts paid for by the deal, paid for as a part of the project budget, paid for by the owner. You have your gross profit at the end of the day, the total bucket of money that you get back, revenue minus expenses, okay? That means direct cost expenses for the project. So you would literally be like the fee plus all of your different gains plus any shared savings, right? This is all going to lump up into your gross profit. Now, let's talk about overhead or your general and administrative costs. Overhead, you take your gross profit minus your G&A or your overhead, basically your expenses to run the project and what corporate charges you to be a part of the corporate umbrella. Take that, your gross profit minus that, then you have your net profit. That's what you've actually made after everything's all said and done. In fact, there used to be a really neat saying. Some people say net profit after bonuses and taxes, and you can add some other things in there if you want. But the bottom line is, a lot of times in order to calculate this, the problem is that executives like to really whittle down the overhead costs for a company, right? Reduce it. And on the job site, reduced general conditions and general requirements line items. So one of the big problems in construction is this balance of having what you need up front, not shortcutting it so that you can prevent mistakes on the back end, but also not blowing your budgets. So let me give you an example. Let's say that as a project, you're like, this project is going to take some pre-con time, and we need to hire LeanTact to go do some lean scheduling consulting for us. And I want to do a little bit more BIM modeling than is actually in our contract. Costs that literally are either considered as a part of the general requirements, or it's considered overhead or a general and administrative expense, or we're just taking it out of fee, however you want to look at it and categorize it. Somebody's going to look at that budget line item and be like, scratch that, scratch that, scratch that. Now here's the problem. If you literally start cutting those and then you tank the project, now you're eating out of contingency and you have fee erosion, okay? That's a problem. And here's the guideline. This is why this video can be valuable for you, is what do you need to build the job right? GCs, GRs, and like I said, anything from a general and administrative cost or your overhead cost. Don't have too much, don't have a lot of unneeded positions, but just what you need. You know, like if you have a pre-con department, or if you have safety, or if you have this software that you're going to buy as an enterprise agreement, right? Get what you need so that you can build the job right, so that you don't have erosion on the back end. Typically what happens is we slash in pre-con, don't get to build the job right, enter into a spiral, eat up all of our contingency, and we have fee erosion. That's what I don't want. So this is a balance. So when you calculate these things, it's all about bucketing them properly, having the right strategy, and determining an overall financial deal that will be positive in the end. And that's why one of my favorite things is a fully visible financial projection sheet. One more quick story. I once went to work for a GC. They're amazing, by the way. And I was like, I want to see the financial projections, but I want to see the summary to see where it's all at. And all I saw was the overall budget category, and like, I think I saw gross profit, which is silly enough, but without gains. I was like, no, I don't want to see that. I want to see the budget categories. I want to see how much we have left in buyout contingency. I want to see owner contingency, contractor contingency. Do we have shared savings, possible profit from self-perform? I want to see labor gains on the staff, and, well, then the actual labor gains for self-perform are actually looped into the self-perform contract. But I want to see the gains on equipment rentals. I want to see insurance, bonds gains. I want to see everything that ties into the overall financial strategy of this project. Add those together, then see a gross profit total, then see what we're being charged by corporate for overhead and any of our other expenses, right? Be them bonuses, taxes, or anything else like that. And then I want to see my net profit target, and I want to actually make sure that it matches what the end target is, and that I'm strategizing as we go. One quick example. This is all legal and ethical, by the way. One time when I was looking at this, I found out that we were coding all job site cleanup to the self-perform codes. And that was a lump sum contract within the overall budget. And the budget actually was clear. We had a surplus by about, it was tracking to have $800,000 surplus, meaning like we were doing good. And so I was like, wait a minute, there is a code in the general project budget for cleanup, but we're coding everything to self-perform. We need to start coding that properly and get anything that's appropriate for this code out, and only code cleanup for self-perform that actually belongs there. So now the costs were being reduced on the self-perform side, and our gains, our profit from that lump sum self-perform budget was increasing, and then we were eating a bit into the $800,000 surplus, but it was fine. Now somebody would be like, Jason, is that shady? No, it's not shady. It's how the deal is set up. You play the game ethically the way the deal is set up. And we ended up being like, oh, our net profit is coming down. Oh, no, it's right here. And it was all done ethically. It's about knowing your numbers. And so the best advice that I have is to have a summary on your financial projections that show all of these buckets, and understand how overhead at the company level and how your general conditions and general requirements on the job site and any expenses that you might have to pay for all total towards your net profit. I'm going to put this into a blog post for you, but I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.